Hello there, you amazing viewers and subscribers, and welcome to a brand new series on my channel called Doctor Who Crown Jewels. Now, for this series, I'm going to go through all the stories through from seasons 1 down to season 26, and then of course adding in New Who with series 1 down to series 13. Now, the reason I'm doing this is because we're so close now to the 60th anniversary specials, and I think it'd be the best way that I do like a little series of Doctor Who Crown Jewels for each week. So starting off this week with season 1, next week season 2, next week season 3, then season 4, season 5, season 6, and so on and so on and so on and so on. And I will be adding Big Finish into the mix for Paul McGann's Doctor, aka the 8th Doctor, and of course the War Doctor as well. So for this series, I'm going to cover basically from William Hartnell all the way down to Jodie Whittaker. Well, I should actually say David Tennant, aka 14, but I get a bit confused because Tennant is basically the 10th Doctor and he's now the 14th Doctor. So I can't really talk about the Crown Jewels for series 2 for Tennant or series 3 or 4 for Tennant and then go, oh yeah, after the Whittaker we got the Tennant specials, but we've already got the Tennant specials. So I am trying to think how I'm going to word that one out properly. So The Crown Jewels to season 1. Now, season 1 aired from BBC One from the 23rd of November 1963 down to the 12th of September 1964. And of course, it was a good season. Not one of my favourite seasons for the 60s. It is an enjoyable season. I mean, it's not like some of the stuff that we have in Modern Who. I mean, some of the series in Modern Who are pretty bad. This is coming from my standard and my opinions. So what can I say about the Crown Jewels for season 1? Now, I have got a few honourable mentions that before I do get into the actual proper Crown Jewel. So when I say this now, this season contains over 7 stories, which is basically Unearthly Child, the Daleks, Edge of Destruction, Marco Polo, the Keys of Marinus, the Aztecs, the Sensorites, and the Reign of Terror. 7 to 8 stories. And I'm going to mention a quick 4 of these because have got 4 honourable mentions I want to say for this season. So, honourable mention number 4. So, for the 4th honourable mention, I kind of want to talk about The Unearthly Child. Now, The Unearthly Child, to me, it is a fantastic opening story. The pilot is actually quite good as well, but it does get a little bit boring from episodes 2 and 4 onwards because of it being set in the caveman period. But there are some actually good moments in this story. I mean, you're about to see the first Doctor bash somebody's head in with a skull. You got him trying to trick the cavemen into basically saying that he's a fire god. But the only reason that I have to say this is an honourable mention is because it is the very first ever Doctor Who episode of The Unearthly Child, aka the pilot. I have to be honest with you, we had 2 pilots for this story. We have the original one that was aired on the 23rd of November, and we have the one that was actually filmed but not shown until 1991. For me to sit here and say, why do I think basically The Unearthly Child deserves an honourable mention for a Crown Jewel? Well, it sets up the whole lot for Doctor Who history. I mean, if this episode didn't go wow, Doctor Who would not be about to now. It wouldn't be the most fantastic franchise as it has actually become by spinning into all different types of media, going into Big Finish, Target Books, book range, and of course having some fantastic Doctor Who museums in the past, like the Blackpool Expedition, the Liverpool Doctor Who experience that I went to last year. We wouldn't have any of them. So yeah, honourable mention number 4 is basically The Unearthly Child. It's not a good story, but it is actually worth it just for the first episode. Honourable mention number 3. So the third honourable mention I kind of want to talk about is one that I never used to enjoy, but I have watched it a couple of months ago and it has actually grown on me. It is the Keys of Marinus. So this is a 7-part story, and 6 to 7 parts. I can't remember how many episodes it is. It's been a while. As I said, it's been a couple of months. I'd love the fact how basically you got this acid sea stuff going on. You got Susan's shoe that basically gets acid, and the Doctor, Ian and Barbara and Susan do kind of get separated, where they have to go through all of these doors to try and find these keys so they can return to Marinus and go back in the TARDIS, which they do. We also have fantastic new alien creature design, aka the Void. which is basically like a scuba diver suit, and you've got like a little pointy helmet in it, which is kind of good. And the story itself is definitely I'm going to say it's a 7.5 out of 10. I do enjoy it. I have come to enjoy it more than I used to do. I mean, that's me just going back thinking I'll give it a rewatch, and yeah, I have got a review to come out on this one as well. So that's honourable mention number 3. Honourable mention number 2. I kind of want to give this one an honourable mention because I think it's a iconic story. It is The Reign of Terror. Now, The Reign of Terror, this was so close to being my crown jewel for season 1. Set in the middle of the French Revolution. You got Ian, you got Barbara and Susan kind of get separated from the Doctor after they kind of get attacked, and the Doctor is there just walking all through France to Paris to try and interfere with the Reign of Terror. I mean, Hartnell gets a fantastic costume, apart from the first Doctor look. I also have to admit, for our story set in the French Revolution in the past, I wouldn't think I would enjoy this one, but every time I go to rewatch this story, I always find myself enjoying it more and more and more and more and more. I always enjoy it so much more than when I first got this back on DVD in 2015. I mean, it came out in 2013, 2014 type time, but I didn't pick it up until 2015, and then since then I kind of grew a lot to this story, and I just absolutely enjoy it. And then, of course, honourable mention number 1. Now, this was so close to actually be my top crown jewel for the season, but I'm going to have to say it's an honourable mention because it is the Daleks. Now, the Daleks, it is the second ever Doctor Who story to be broadcast. It introduces us to the Daleks. Basically, the Daleks was the very first time the Doctor encounters an alien, another alien menace. And of course, it is 7 parts long, and it's actually quite enjoyable. Yeah, some parts do feel a bit like pulled out just to time constraints, but it's actually not a bad story. I mean, part 1 really sets up with it really, really well, and then when you got Barbara being captured and you don't see nothing apart from a plunger, like the Dalek plunger sucker, and you just see Barbara screaming, that's a fantastic cliffhanger. And then, of course, you got the radiation drugs going on. You got the Fowls. You got the Doctor trying to warn the Fowls about the Daleks' plan to exterminate them. When he goes, "Look out! It's a trap!" Yeah, I just really enjoy the Daleks. I think it's a fantastic story, but it's so close to being my honestly my crown jewel. So for my crown jewel for this season has got to be the story that has basically made me enjoy Hartnell's era a lot more. It is the Aztecs. Yes, the Aztecs. It is my favourite Hartnell story from this season. Not my general favourite Hartnell story. I mean, that is basically when we get into season 2 and season 3 territories. But the Aztecs, it is a fantastic story set in 15th century in Mexico. You got Barbara basically pretending to be a reincarnation of a Egyptian god. Well, the Mexican gods type thing. You have the Doctor basically trying to tell Barbara not to stray out of history because Barbara wants to change history by basically having no more sacrifices and all that, blah, 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 blah. And he literally just tried to warn her, saying, "You cannot rewrite history, not one line. Believe me, I know. I just honestly, flat out, just purely just love the story. I mean, it's a 4-part episode, and each part is absolutely done brilliant. I mean, the fact you got Ian and the warrior Aztec basically having a fantastic sword fight. You got Susan being very, very difficult, and she's not agreeing to anything what they want her to do, which is actually fair enough. I mean, Susan is from Gallifrey, and she is the Doctor's granddaughter. And the way the Doctor accidentally gets engaged in this episode is quite funny because he's just talking to this young Aztec woman, and then next minute, you read those few words, and he just goes, "I will talk to my bride-to-be," and Ian goes, "You're what? Yes, I'm engaged to be married." But the wedding does not go through because the TARDIS team do basically escape, and back into the TARDIS they go. I really do love this fantastic episode. It's just worth it to hear Hartnell's Doctor, because this is the point in the Doctor's timeline where basically he's travelling, he's not interfering in people's or planets in affairs. That does become a bit more of a topic later on, specifically around about season 2 onwards. But in this one, the first Doctor's basically try not to interfere in history, where he goes, You cannot rewrite history. Not one line. Believe me, I know. I know. I honestly just love the way Hartnell just delivers that line. And I have to say, yeah, it's my crown jewel. I mean, for season 1, it's got to be the Aztecs for my crown jewel. I just absolutely genuinely just absolutely flipping love this story. And the amount of times out of all of the DVDs I've got for season 1, I always go back and rewatch the story the most from the season, because this is the one, to me, it's definitely the crown jewel. It's definitely the definitive story from that season. And I just genuinely just flat out enjoy it, and I just flat out love it. So yeah, my crown jewel for season 1 is of course the Aztecs. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you stay tuned for part 2 in my Doctor Who The Crown Jewel series, when I talk about what story is crown jewel for season 2, which is very, very hard, I'm going to be honest with you, because season 2, it's my favourite Hartnell season. It is honestly my favourite Hartnell season, and I got so many good stories in there, and I'm going to try and knuckle down my honourable mentions into 4 stories before I get into the story I actually think is the crown jewel. So, yeah, thank you for watching this video. Please do like, subscribe, and share, and join for more awesome Doctor Who content.